Made by Neo Bobbin. What is it? The Stone Age was an era of time when people were mainly known for making tools or developing many things with ideas we use today. It lasted 3.4 million years. There were three periods: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. Let's start with the Paleolithic age. The Paleolithic or Old Stone Age was a period which was roughly 2.5 million years ago to 10,000 BCE. This is major human development since hominids. Water sources of Paleolithic age. The people of Paleolithic did not have a stable water supply. They had no place to store water since irrigation systems were not invented yet. This is why most settlements were near water sources. Water is normally used to shower, drink, and more important reasons. Food. Food during the Paleolithic age was limited in places. One of the main foods they ate were fish. This was another reason why they settled near freshwater resources, because fish and other seafood were in these sources. Since they had no agriculture and farming yet, this caused overfishing, which mainly meant they had to move and settle where there's more food. Another food they ate was meat. Mainly hunted wild animals like buffalo, bison, wild goats, reindeers, and more. These foods were mainly half-baked since they only had fire as their cooking source. Other foods they ate were plants, such as nuts, seeds, and berries, mainly from bushes and trees. These people who hunted and gathered for food were called hunter-gatherers. Topography and where they lived. Paleolithics were found mostly in eastern Africa, in mostly modern-day Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. This is where fossils were primarily found at. One of the main physical features during this age was that it was very hilly, with hills covering some areas. Another feature was that in some places it was rocky, filled with stones and sort. Since they used all these stones for tool making, they mostly lived in teepees, caves, and other simple huts with rivers along. Survival and weapons used. Paleolithics mainly survived by making and carving weapons by stone, or by hunting and gathering. This was very different from now. Paleolithics used stone to mainly carve weapons such as spear throwers, hand axes, bows, arrows, hammerstones, and so much more. Many used these weapons from neighboring attacks and hunting for animals. Many families lived in small teepees with caves since homes weren't built yet. This is why it's called the Stone Age, because all eras used stone as weapons and carving tools. The astonishing arts. Believe it or not, even Paleolithics had the arts. For art, Paleolithics used stone to carve paintings on caves. It is still unknown of what they used for color, but experts think it was colorful berries. It mainly showed of animals such as horses and bulls running from something that was also still anonymous. People think it was from humans or magic spirits, though. Paintings of animals contain of glory and bloodshed, but also friendship and community. This is a little rare, but prehistoric flutes were also made as a form of music. Travel. During the Paleolithic age, people had to move and travel a lot. One of the reasons this is why is because when places soon get overcrowded, with many people living there, families had to move on to other places. Another reason is that sources such as food and water that people needed could run out, so they would have to move to a rather resourceful environment. So, what is the Paleolithic age in summary? The Paleolithic or Old Stone Age was an era when people had to use their minds to create tools and weapons. They didn't have much to even any advances in technology, and had to survive with very little resources. They got their food from hunting and gathering, known as hunter-gatherers, but did not have a stable food supply. They had to travel place to place, often due to lack of food and water. Small groups would often go hunting. Overall, this was probably the most difficult era of the Stone Age, but it was the start of what we call now life. On to the Neolithic. Wait! What about the forgotten Mesolithic age? The Mesolithic age was an era which was the phase between Paleolithic and Neolithic age. It lasted between 10,000 to 8,000 BCE. We will not talk about this since it was just repeating the Paleolithic age and giving a head start on the Neolithic age. Now, let's go on to the Neolithic Age. The Neolithic or New Stone Age was an era mainly known for creating the use of farming and much more advances in technology. The water sources. The water sources of the Neolithic Age is fairly similar to the Paleolithic water sources. They settled by nearby lakes, rivers, ponds, and etc., but they did not fish as much since they had agricultural land, so they did not have to move much. According to Wikipedia.com, during the Neolithic era, humans dug the first permanent water wells, from which vessels could be carried in by hand. Food. One of the biggest advances ever probably is the making of agriculture and farming. This was a big shift from the Paleolithic Age because people went from hunting and gathering to farming and crops. People in this era ate and domesticated most plants like barley, rice, wheat, squash, corn, lentils, flax, and evolved to more and more foods as years passed. What's kind of crazy is that this is now the base of what we eat today. They also ate domesticated sheep, cattle, pigs, and chickens. Let's just say that Neolithics were lucky to have these fortunes. And I showed an animation of the decrease of Paleolithic foods like hunting and gathering to more farming and agriculture. Topography and where they lived. The agriculture spread everywhere to places in Africa, Asia, and Europe, but the Neolithics mostly lived near the Fertile Crescent, which is close to the Middle East near the Mediterranean Sea. Some of the advantages and physical characteristics during this age was that it had arable land, as for farmers wanted to grow crops to eat, created irrigation systems, which also helped them to grow and water crops, and people started to settle in cities and towns, such as Jericho, Catalhoyuk, and Jermo. Survival. Neolithic survival was a little easier than the Paleolithics because of all the advances since. The Neolithics also made weapons out of stone, and they built one of the first permanent shelters, which was made with packed mud, which helped them protect harsh weather and wild animals. The Neolithic houses led to form larger communities. Unlike Paleolithics with small groups, the advantages of having larger communities is that people could learn a task faster by working together, so they could work more efficiently. This led to creating new jobs, like weavers, basket makers, and traders. This also started the development of trade. Since Neolithics became more gifted, they also had the wish of trading things upon others. The arts. The Neolithic art was much more known than art in the Paleolithic Age. Since art has been spreading amongst people, they invented jobs for it. For example, some jobs were weaving, creating megaliths, and architecture. One of their most well-known art inventions is pottery. According to thought.co.com, the earlier arts of statuary, painting, and pottery stuck with us. The Neolithic era saw many refinements to each. For music, musical instruments like drums and flutes were invented. Technology and inventions. Some of the main and most important inventions and advances in technology are probably the most important. Number 1, the innovation of agriculture and farming. Number 2, the wheel, which helped them haul things around. Number 3, irrigation systems was a base to many civilizations and led more ways to grow crops. Number 4, creation of advanced occupations like architects, weavers. And number 5, creation of trading and bartering. Number 6, domestication of plants and animals. And number 7, an establishment of communities. Finally, travel. Traveling in the Neolithic Age was very different from the Paleolithic Age. This is because since agriculture and farming was created, people didn't have to move much because they didn't really hunt and gather much anymore. This was a big influence on people back then because they didn't have to pack and move much. Another reason they didn't move is that they had permanent and long-lasting shelters with many resources surrounding the settlements. So, what is the Neolithic Age in summary? The Neolithic or New Stone Age was an era known for its major advances in technology/inventions. It was also known for its creation of agriculture and farming, and personally, in my opinion, the most interesting era for its revolutionary innovations and people. Now that we're done talking about each era, why is this topic significant to world history? The Stone Age was a period in which showed mostly the advantages of using stone as a weapon/tool, but it also marked one of the most significant periods, as it developed many things we still use and need today. So why do we need to learn the topic of Stone Age? Well, learning the topic lets us know how this period shaped the future and built up from just some tools to fire to farming and agriculture. Crazy, right? An ending fun fact. Did you know one of the Stone Age villages still exists today? The village Skara Brae was recovered by a historian in 1850. It showed life 5,000 years ago. It's in present-day Sandwich, Orkney, Scotland. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. Also, happy Halloween, or at least early Halloween. What are you dressing up as? And finally, here's my bibliography. Thank you for watching.